When Meghan Markle signed her massive Netflix contract, it was supposed to be a watershed moment. In a partnership that would revolutionize the entertainment sector, she would oversee unique programming and reinvent herself beyond the palace walls. But what started out as a royal attempt to enter the Hollywood industry is now turning into a huge disaster for which Netflix was unprepared. Behind the scenes, top executives are in a panic. Internal investigations are booming. A movie and a specific incident from a cooking show might be the tipping point. Let's take a time to reflect. Love and Meghan series. Meghan was marketed as a heartwarming documentary reality show with a lifestyle theme. Think about well-being, temperament and feelings of well-being, but the tone shifted when producers saw the startling similarities between Meghan's video and, well, other shows. The big red flag's upcoming second season will include a segment that seemed oddly familiar, too much like home. It was basically a carbon copy, so it turns out that Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen wasn't the sole inspiration. We are talking about whole lifted sequences. Cooking contests. A winner is challenged by a theatrical chef. Appointed head chef, and, oddly enough, several of Ramsay's well-known sayings word for word. Executives were in awe. It wasn't because it was daring that it was so obviously torn. Not. Even a deep cut from a lost episode was included in the copied episode. Season Hell's Kitchen Season 1 introduced Ramsay's combustible television persona. Someone noticed Meghan strolling so far back, even though she apparently thought no one would. During a routine screening, a screener discovered the incident, resulting in Ted Sarangas and Greg Peter, two of Netflix's senior execs, making an urgent phone call. These two have had their share of internal conflicts, but once this plagiarism bomb was hurled, they swiftly bonded. Both were alleged to startled and even embarrassed that something so blatant had advanced this far in the production process. Netflix quickly terminated the sequence, pulling the segment from all edits and demanding reshoots. Only this once, there was a catch. Meghan would not have a fresh script. In an attempt to set things right at the last minute without letting her borrow again, the following film would be entirely improvised. Furthermore, a reality show, let's be honest, it's like handing someone a parachute after they've already flown. Redone without a script as predicted, Meghan took the cut seriously. She allegedly burst during internal conversations, characterizing the situation in the kitchen as one of her most noteworthy program contributions. She further said that it was special because she had given it a personal touch by holding the competition at a leased house and assigning the winner to prepare food for a fictitious charity event. But that wasn't enough to hold things together. This is the worst. Netflix quietly reached out to Gordon Ramsay's employees to try to defuse the situation and make it clear that they were handling it internally. The problem has expanded beyond copyright. With relation to optics, Ramsay, of course, didn't keep quiet. Sources claim that he was furious. In addition to the fact that phrases had been copied, the speed, the conflicts, and the passion of his performance had all been so well replicated that it appeared to be making fun of the usage of expensive cosmetics. After then, things deteriorated. Ramsay's team stepped up their internal investigation as they started to probe Netflix, and more examples of stolen content surfaced. Meghan's group didn't have a robust defensive. Furthermore, the more Netflix looked into it, the more it seemed that her creative decisions were risky in addition to questionable. Moreover, reshoots were underway and there was no clear direction. So the chaos wasn't exhibiting signs of slowing down. The timing couldn't have been worse. Netflix was already experiencing user issues. While websites like HBO Max and Peacock are growing more competitive, fan-favorite programs are being blocked as a result of price rises. When the Meghan Markle controversy hit their desks, it was more than just a PR disaster. Since audience loyalty was already low, it directly threatened their already fragile brand image. Additionally, Ted was the cause of a lot of annoyance in the company. Sarandos and Greg Peters weren't only hurrying to patch the software. They wanted to keep more people from using the platform. Inside, meetings turned tense. Legal teams started reviewing every episode of with regards to any copyright issues. Meghan, they also found enough to make any supervisor sweat. It wasn't only Hell's Kitchen. Bits and pieces of other shows were weaved in with segments from the Rachel Ray Show. Kardashian-inspired attire, as well as short videos that alluded to past Food Network competitions. It seems like Meghan built a Frankenstein exhibit over a garment fashioned from there and another borrowed from here. She draped her brand shown as the original. When asked about it, she reportedly dismissed it as inspiration, claiming that all artists get inspiration from other works. But Netflix rejected it, especially because the statement was copied precisely. It was a real game changer when test viewers were shown a sneak peek at the upcoming season. The responses were severe. Viewers saw the similarities right away. Some even made jokes about Meghan binge-watching food. Putting network jokes and the hit record aside, Netflix was more worried about the erosion of audience confidence. Viewers not only disliked the presentation, but also believed it was deceptive. Meanwhile, Meghan remained stubborn and refused to comprehend what a line had been crossed by her. When producers tried to stress how serious things were becoming, she allegedly brushed the claims aside as internal turmoil that will be handled later. But it wasn't disappearing. It was choosing, if anything. Accelerating. Netflix had to decide what to do. Continue to stand at her side, risk further criticism, or distance yourself before the damage worsens. Then came the call Meghan had been dreading, and Ted Sarandos's direct comments made it clear that the duplicative segments were being eliminated for good. There would be no concessions. There was little chance that anything resembling Ramsay's show would air, and there was no milder version of the program. Reports state that Meghan tried to negotiate the price. Add new dialogue and alter the episode's editing, but it was too late. There was no trust anymore. The situation was made more difficult by the fact that Meghan could veto since she had creative control over significant portions of the show. On paper, at least, some editors choose the show's substance and plot, but after the plagiarism issue, her influence changed from real to symbolic, and executives began to progressively take away her authority. Shifting roles and using stand-in producers to manage the reshoots. The revised approach: restrain Meghan's power behind the camera and let her improvise if needed, but uphold stringent rules and oversight. Every shot was now accompanied by legal monitors. Every screen time was reviewed twice and every script change was put through copyright filters before it was even close to being made public. Something was wrong. The greatest degree of authority a show focused on Meghan Markle was now being held together by legal tape and corporate dread. A warning had been issued by what had begun as a vanity endeavor, and the weeks that followed would determine whether there is anything that Netflix could salvage from the wreckage. The problem was monitored by more than just executives. Shareholder inquiries have started to come in. Meghan had a costly Netflix subscription, and now that her show has become a legal and creative liability that investors wanted to know more about. Memoranda from within began to echo with regret. Subtly, the once celebrated partnership was being reassessed. Provisions for contract renewal were reviewed. Re-examined, and a person with knowledge of the matter revealed that a second renewal was no longer possible. Meanwhile, Meghan was exploring further. She had always positioned herself as a rebel who challenged the status quo and rewrote the rules, but now that the system was retaliating, she was struggling to keep control. She was reportedly trying to micromanage editing, demanding daily video inspections, and calling frequent emergency meetings that few people even showed up to. Clearly, the balance of power had shifted. The reshoots were a total circus, and Meghan was just reacting and losing control. Without a specific screenplay, the cast members were told to follow Meghan's lead. What it really meant was hours of unstructured, meandering movies with no structure and no obvious payoff. The editors of the series likened it to building a house out of fog. Some parts must be left out entirely because no logical arc. Others could only be saved by post-production trickery, which attempted to pass off random moments as intentional. Plot. On set, crew morale had fallen and members were departing. There wasn't any underlying skill. Meghan was thought to be the source of the chaos after once being viewed as the star on a mission. She acted as like nothing was wrong, according to other workers. Some claim that she was becoming more and more worried that someone was going to hurt her at any rate. Her presence no longer inspired the staff. It had tired them out. Netflix was already working behind closed doors on a secret exit plan. One recommendation was to, after a limited release, the second season was placed on hold. Another bold idea. The public outrage was only sparked by the decision to take the entire show down from the platform, mark it as a limited engagement, and then move on. A Meghan Markle performance being abruptly cancelled would trigger media storms, activist campaigns, or even legal action. As a result, the CEO chose a slower bleed. No marketing push, no new promotional materials, and a quiet disappearance into the background, but the damage continued. The plagiarism scandal made news on entertainment websites. Experts in TikTok were examining the parallels between Meghan's movie and the original episodes, accumulating millions of views. Supporters want Gordon Ramsay's name to appear frequently. Want him to respond publicly. Those close to his team made it clear that he was furious, even if he never said it out loud. The last person you want in the kitchen or in the press to be upset with you is Gordon Ramsay. By now, Meghan's tight circle had significantly reduced. A few loyal PR advisors and reps stayed, but most individuals left. Once certain opportunities, like branded partnerships, future series, and guest appearances, all started off quietly. Disappearing. No one answered the phones. Meeting dates were rescheduled. The silence was deafening. In the end, Meghan taught us about love, not about media, fame, or even artistic freedom, but rather about what happens when unrestrained influence, when your fans believe you are no longer worth the bother and your inventiveness is ignored. Netflix will continue to exist and the industry will forget. But in Meghan's case, the taint from this series can be around for a while. More time than she had expected.